Hey, so a few days ago I posted this video on r/blender and some people were curious on how I made this effect. So because I didn't find any videos using the same technique as I used, I decided to make this short video and where I'll go briefly through the process of creating this kind of effect. So we'll start with deleting everything in our scene and creating two collections, front side and back side. First we'll go to front side and start creating our card, so I'll just use plane and do some basic modeling here. So I'll just bevel these edges or corners, and for now we need to create a hole in it, so I'll just add cube, scale it a little bit, and again bevel these edges. And you can use boolean modifier, but I'm using a bool tool, which is a small add-on for creating boolean modifiers easily. So now when you have a hole, you can start adding like the items or objects behind the card. So I'll just add a sphere like this, just to make it to have here something. Now we need to add thickness to our card, so just select the edges with Alt and Shift click and extrude it on Y-axis. And we will extrude it one more time to add background behind the sphere itself. Now we will create two materials. One will be main material and we can set it to black. And second material will be, or we can call it background. And we will assign it to these last extruded faces and this back face, like this. For the background material, we want it to be hold out material, which is basically a material which won't be rendered on outside, and inside we want it like black or some kind of image texture or something like that. So we'll just switch to shading workspace, and to differentiate outside and inside, we can add geometry node, and this back facing vector will tell us which part is outside and which inside. So we can use it as vector for mix shader, and we can just mix hold out and emission shaders like this, and I'll set emission to black. Now you can see that from outside you can also enable transparency in here in film transparent. You can see that it's just basically transparent from outside, but from inside you can see it's black. We can also now add some kind of light to our scene, so like this. And we can also add camera, so I'll just reset these things, rotate it on x-axis by 90 degrees and put it here, like this. Okay, now we can start animating our card. So first thing you need to do before animating it, you need to parent all objects inside to the card itself. So just select the objects, shift click the card and Ctrl P and click object with keep transform. So now when we rotate it on z-axis, you can see that it's moving with the card. Now let's say that we want to have our animation 120 frames, and I'll set frame rate to 30 frames per second. For the first frame we want to have our card from the side like this, so I'll just rotate it on z-axis by 90 degrees and hit I to insert rotation. Now go to frame 60 and rotate it on z-axis by minus 180 degrees like this, and again hit I and rotation. And now go to last frame and one more frame, because we don't want to have last and first and last frames same, so the animation is seamless. So we'll just go to one more frame and rotate it on the axis by again minus 180 degrees and keyframe rotation. Now to make it like smooth, or not smooth, like linear, just right click, interpolation mode and linear. So now it's without easing, or how it's called. Now you can see that between these faces we can just only see the edges, and we actually want to see the whole card. So in these faces we will actually render only the back side. To create the back side, you can just click the card, Shift D, and move it to the back side. For now I'll hide the front side and edit this a little bit. I'll delete these faces, fill this back side, and fill this hole. So now we have the back side. And basically the method I'm using works that you first render first half of our animation, where you can see the inside of the card, and then you render back side of our animation where you can see just the second side, and then you put it together. So now we can start rendering. For output I'll just select, I'll create a folder called render, for example, and yeah, this should be good. So first we will render front side, so we will enable front side and disable back side, and set start to 1 and end to frame 60, which is first half of our animation, and so it will be just these frames. And now you can hit render animation. Now when it's finished, you just set start to frame 61 and end to 120, disable front side and enable back side, so it will be just this part of animation, and again you hit render animation. Now if you look in your folder, you can see that it created 120 pictures of our animation. So now what we need to do is to just go to compositing workspace. I think it's under VFX, yeah. And you click use nodes here. We don't need render layers anymore, so we just hit X to delete it. And we will just add image sequence with image. And we'll click open, select our render directory or folder. Hit A to select all the images and click open image. And now when we plug it here, you can also, if you have Node Wrangler add-on installed, you just Control Shift and it will create this viewer, which you can add just simple like this. And so you can see it in the background. We can unzoom it here in view, zoom. And now when we set frames to 1 to 120 and go through the frames, we can see that it's our animation and it has the 3D effect. You can also add some kind of background with alpha over. You can, if you don't have background, you can just set to color, like, I don't know, it doesn't matter for now, but for your project you can just create some gradient or something like that and add it here. And now for exporting this animation, just go to Output Properties. I'll select FFmpeg video and select the project folder. And now we can hit render animation again, and it should be pretty fast. Okay, now when it's finished, just go to your folder and it should be here. You can also set it to loop, so it will loop and you can see that we have our card. Okay, so yeah, that's all, I guess. I can also show you for my card which I posted on Reddit. I created a design in Inkscape, which is free vector or software for creating vector graphics like this. And yeah, I was also very inspired by Karl Hauser. I'll put his Instagram below, and also maybe show some pictures. Okay, so I guess that's all, and I hope you learned something new.